3
All
o'clock.
righty, so we shall begin. This morning, we're going to use the Happiness Abounds stamp set, and later the matching dies that go with it, and it's from the Hues of Happiness Suite. We'll also be using some of their designer series paper on the last card that we make. This first card is called a building block card. And it was inspired by a card that I saw from Debbie Cronister. She made it using the Texture Chic Boutique. And I just changed it up to my tastes and a little bit of, I cut the paper a little bit differently for my style. I used the Happiness Abounds stamp set and the Friendly Hello DSP from the celebration last time. So if you were able to get that DSP last time, that's what I used here. And this is like sort of like put together like a mosaic. If you're wondering what this flower is doing here, it's covering a boo-boo. But it looks pretty nice there. So I was.
Well, you don't have to admit that. It looks like it belongs there.
Yeah, I was
Just say it's an added touch.
I was actually considering that, just putting that into the other ones. So anyway.
And what is the DSP? I'm sorry.
Friendly Hello. It was a celebration DSP from the last round. So if you got the Hello Friend stamp set and the Friendly Hello DSP, I think I have a cup. Yes, I do. Friendly Hello, and it came like so. So this is the piece that we're using. We're using some of this. And then this is the rest of it. So those two went together, which are very pretty. This is pretty. So you could do this in any color scheme. This has cute little birds on it. And you could do, this is Fresh Freesia. And this one is, I believe it's Pool Party, but it might be, what did I do with it? There it is. I can tell you in a second here. It is Pool Party. So we have Basic Black, Fresh Freesia, Granny Apple Green, Petal Pink, Pool Party, and Shaded Spruce in this kit. So this is Fresh Freesia, and this again is Petal Pink. This would have been a nice one to use on that back panel as well. And I'll show you that I, if I can find it, I made a first copy of the card, and it was, well, I thought it was too busy. Lynn agreed with me, and then I sort of revamped the card. So here's how it starts, and it didn't look too terrible from here, but when you open it up, it was just too much here. So that's why I left this panel out, and then I changed the back panel to something a little less conflicting.
Distracting.
Yeah, distracting. It's not that it looks bad, it's just a little too busy for my taste. So this looked like more clean and simple, which seemed to work in there a lot better. So let's get started on this. And we're going to start with a piece of cardstock. This is Petal Pink. It measures 11 inches by 5.5. And then it is scored at 3.5 and at 7. So your sections are 3.5 wide in the front, in the middle, And then this last section is 4 inches wide. So your DSP is cut 1/8 of an inch smaller to fit in those spots. So the back piece is 3 7/8, 5 3/8, and the front piece is 3 3/8 by 5 3/8. So we'll just go ahead and put those in. Tiny little 16th inch border. Which you can change to a 1/4 inch border or 1/8 inch border if you like. All you have to do is snag off a 1/4 inch off the measurements of the paper. Oh, actually an 1/8 inch. Okay, so your DSP might have somewhat of a top and bottom. I kind of liked my leaves pointing upward and my black elements pointing downward, just the way I chose to put it on there. So now we have the front and the back of the card started. Have 4. Where's the 4th one? It's never where I want it to be. Okay, so you have 4 of these pieces and they measure 6 inches by 1 1/4 inches. And they are scored at every 1.5 inches. So they're scored at 1.5, 3, 4, and 4.5 to give you 4 individual sections. And you're going to fold these, and you're going to, when you fold them, you're going to make sure that the edges of this paper, I don't know if you can see this here. Here's the score line.
Yep.
You're going to make sure that the edge code comes up to the score line but doesn't cross over. That'll help you with assembling the card.
Okay.
So in other words, there's going to be a very slight itty bitty little gap between the edge of the paper. If you're not able to get that gap there, you can put this piece in your paper cutter and cut a sliver off of the very end. And I'll show you why that's necessary a little bit later, because it happened on 3 of 4 cards that I made already where this crossed over the fold and caused an obstruction of the way the card folded. So I'm just furnishing all these fold lines. Yeah. See, okay. I'm going to turn the lighting up a little. See if it gets a little brighter. No.
Where'd my video go?
Oh, you're gone.
I don't know. It got you shut off. It says it's shut off. I'll ask you to restart and then maybe you can.
No, wait a minute. Did it come back on? Okay. I don't know why it went off, but okay. I must have hit something.
Alrighty, so what we're going to try to do here is lay these out equally spaced so that this center score line matches up with the center, with the score line of your last panel here. And I use Post-it note tape. You can use washi tape if you're careful. This tape will, if you yank it real fast, it can tear your DSP underneath, so be careful. But I'm going to put one at the top and one at the bottom, and I tried to put those about 1/8 of an inch apart, 1/8 of an inch above the bottom and 1/8 of an inch down from the top. Try to get it perpendicular to that fold line. And then I'm going to space these so they're also about 1/8 of an inch apart. And if you're good at spacing things, you don't need to use the tape, but I'm not very good at it. So I like to start on the ends and then work in the middle. And then you can look at this and adjust what you need. You can look and see what your gaps are, and they are looking pretty good.
Yep.
So I'm just going to take these and fold them back like so. I'm going to set this on here so that make sure that they don't go wonky on you. And you're just going to put some glue on this tab that's going to go against the DSP. And then you'll fold it back. And you do not want that to touch the score line. You want it to be just next to the score line. If you put it right on the score line, when you go to close the card, they will curl up against each other and it'll be very hard to close. I actually had to go in and snip one with the scissors. See, now that one went too far, so I'm going to pull it back a little. And then this last one. And you could use your adhesive, double-sided adhesive as well, but there's going to be a lot of opening and closing on it. So, all right, so then we're going to take a look at this. It's closed, and these should open up completely flat. The card should be able to open up completely flat. If they're bunched up like this, you've got them glued incorrectly on the inside here. So now we're going to take this last flap and put some glue on it and fold it over, making sure, watching on the inside that that piece does not go over the fold. After doing this about 8 times, I think I finally got it. Yeah. All right, and then you can remove your Post-it note tape, and like I say, don't yank on it, just pull it gradually. I always stick it over here and save it for holding down dies or gluing down other paper when I need to hold it temporarily in place, and I keep them over here till they're sticky no longer, and then I toss them. And then I'm going to go back and I'm going to burnish these folds just to make sure. But you can see how all the folds are pretty much in line on both sides. So that when you close this, those things are going to pop up in the middle. You can see, I'm going to try to show you. Can you see this one, this very first one, this gap that's here?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay, that's what's happening, is that piece is a little too long. I did not get that in proper position. So that one should be trimmed off with the scissors. before it's folded, or you can fold it and then burnish it down, but that makes a lot of extra. But that's why that's extra bulk. But that's why that one is not folding as easily as it should. I think it went into place actually. Now you can see the little fold sticking up in there. So later I'll go back and trim that off with the scissors. But it would be easier if that was just trimmed off. So I'm going to suggest that you take in a 1/16 of an inch off of each end of those panels in your kit. All right. We're going to move on to, I'm going to set that aside for a minute. We're going to move on to stamping the flower panels. And the inside sentiment. So this piece measures, this is for the sentiment, 1 3/4 by 5 1/4. And I am going to use from Paradise Palms. I like this particular font, so I'm going to use the Happy Birthday from Paradise Palms. But it could be anything like You Are Missed. Anything you like. Peacefully, pretty flowery, so I would say pretty feminine, but some guys like flowers. Let's not rule them out. I get this straight on my block. Okay. And I am going to use some soft succulent. Good. And just go for middle of the road here. There we are. That would get positioned in the back side. Get out my double-sided adhesive here shortly. Right here, give it a 1/4 inch or that 1/8 of an inch border that you would normally give a card. Place, and that way it'll be totally hidden when the card is closed. If you go too far out, you're gonna see it. So, all right. So the images that go on the inside are next, and we are using the Happiness Abounds stamp sets. I placed somewhere around here. Here it is. And we're going to use this big flower. This smaller flower, it's the only flower on the stamp set that has a small little stem. So we use that one. And then these 2 leaves, along with You Are Wonderful in Every Way. Those are the stamps that, there's 5 stamps that we'll be using from this stamp set. We're going to get out our Memento Tuxedo Black ink. I'm going to start with they both get stamped similarly, but because one is a little bit smaller than the other, you'll have to do a little difference between the 2. And it might be nice to make a little difference between the 2 so that they don't look exactly like the same bush. That ink pad is not so wet, so we're going to try another one. Oop. Not seeing it, guys. Let's see what happens here. I know I set one out. There we go. That was nice and juicy. That's the one. That's the one. All right, so we're going to stamp this large flower kind of down here in the corner. And you will remember that there is going to be a label going on this. So when you're stamping your flowers, you can kind of, you're going to have to cover some of it up. You possibly don't want to cover up the majority of the flower or whatever image you put there. You just want to kind of plan that your image should go a little bit to the left. That doesn't need to happen on the inside image because nothing is going to be gone over the top of it. Nothing is going to be going over the top of it. So there's the large flower. Now the next trick is to do the smaller flower, but make it look like it's connected to the big one. So that's where that little stem comes in handy. And I'm going to take that little stem and like put it right between the petals on this flower. And just touch it to the flower to kind of make it look like it's going through. Now it didn't quite meet, so I'm going to take a black marker a little bit later and connect that up a little better. And I think this flower right here. And then I'll do the same thing on this other one. I think I'm going to go the opposite way on this one. A little difference. You need to, if you're connecting these up, because Memento is a water-based ink, you'll need to color with a water-based ink. So you'll need to use your Stampin' Write marker to finish these stems up a little bit. And all I'm doing is just putting a tiny little dot to connect that stem up. While we are connecting things, I'm also going to connect some leaves. And I have two kinds of leaves here. I have a double larger leaf and like a multi-leafed leaf. I'm not sure that both kinds of these leaves would grow on the same plant, but we're going to do it anyway because I like the way it. Somebody questioned me at the other class about blossoms on an apple tree at the same time you have apples on the apple tree. And I said, well, probably not, right? But
Right.
Artistic license.
yeah, we do those kinds of things. And if it goes off the edge, that's just fine. Let's see. I like to make them a little bit different. So we'll go down here with this leaf. And down here with this one, which is a little bit the same. And maybe here, which I screwed up and stamped right in the middle of the flower. So don't do like that. But I'll find a way to make it work. And then I'm going to take this other leaf and just put some nice greenery on this image. Will get covered up by somewhat by a label down here. Unfortunately, the leaves only bend in one direction. So to make them look like they're growing the right way, you have to turn your paper a bit. All right, I think that's good. Now I am going to find my I have a cutting board, plastic cutting board on my, over the top of my grid paper, and I just wipe the ink off. Water-based ink, you can do that. All right, so then we're going to take Stampin' Blends, which are the alcohol-based inks. If you color this with your Stampin' Right versions of this, which you can, make sure you stamp the black in Stays On instead of Memento, because when you get close to the edge with this kind of marker, if you get close to the edge with Memento, it will smear. Whereas if you go over the top of this, even with alcohol markers, it does not smear. So it's kind of opposite. Alcohol markers with water-based base, image base, and then Stays On, which is an alcohol-based base with a watercolor marker. And you can watercolor, you can use watercolor pencils with a blender pen, and you can also use the blender pen dipped into some ink on the lid of your ink pad. It's coming to come to me eventually. Okay, so I'm going to start with some light soft succulent, and I am just going to color in these leaves. Big ones are the easy ones. Follow the shape around. I'm using the brush tip, but use a very, very, very light touch because the tips on these kind of are very delicate. Now I'll go through the little ones. Here. And then to add a little shading, which is optional but looks really nice, I'm going to take the dark succulent, and we're going to pretend that the sun is coming from up in this direction here. So the shadow on your leaves are going to fall at the bottom areas of the leaves. So I'm going to shade bottoms of these leaves. And if your leaves are growing upward, you need to color the bottom of the leaf, not the bottom side of the leaf. So, and you should color them all in the same direction so that you can see that the sun, I'm getting sloppy here, but I'll correct that later with my color lifter pen. Okay, so there's the leaves. And that's the end. And I would do the same thing on that front image. And then I'm going to get a petal pink. And I am going to, oh, no, first I'm going to get Daffodil Delight. I'm going to color the center of the flowers. Start with the dark in the middle. And then flare it out to a little bit lighter color on the outside edges. And when you color your pink, you can blend this right in and it'll look a little bit orangey where the two colors meet. It looks really pretty. All right. Then we're going to take dark petal pink. And I'm going to go, do you remember when we colored the peonies, we went around the inside of each one of those little petals, dark first and then colored in light when we were done? Well, that's the same thing we're going to do here. And I'll do this as fast as I can. And there's some areas where this is just the edge of the leaf turned up, or edge of the petal turned up. I'm going to color those dark on this image. The other image doesn't have this particular turned up edges on it. This flower is blossoming and fading away. Starting to lose its prettiness, but it is still at the most pretty point right now. All right, so now we're going to go around the inside of each one of those, each one of those petals, and I'll show you what happened to my one marker and why I'm having difficulty here getting enough color. Going to get out the other end and see what we can do here. Petal pink is about out. I'm not liking that at all. Just have to go slower in order to hold the coloring down to get more on there. So, all right, so that flower's what I'm going to call inlined instead of outlined. Then I'm going to do the same on this one here. Not sure what I'm going to do about that leaf, but we're just going to leave it that way right now. No one would ever even notice if I didn't draw attention to it. And then we're going to go just go over the top of everything with the light petal pink. And this is not very dark because my pen is totally out of ink. So we'll go back over this. Now, the other day I went, uh-oh, what happened there? And you can see what's on the inside of these. It's just like what's on the inside of a Stampin' Write marker. I suppose if you blended your ink with some alcohol, you could refill this, but I don't know how you would ever get the difference between light and dark. Anyway, I told Stampin' Up! About this, and I'm supposed to have a delivery today of a new one. Of course, it didn't come anywhere near on time. So now we're just going to go over this whole thing and color it all, and go over the yellow, just go over the top of the flower completely. And your dark edges will stay shaded somewhat. Your center of your flower will blend. And I should not be going this fast and furious with this delicate tip. Somewhere somebody told me you could get new tips. I'll have to look that one up. But I have a feeling that the ink will go dry long before the tip wears out. I'm not too worried. All right, so we have our flowers colored on that one. And of course, you would do the same on the front image, which I'm not going to do because it takes too much time. And then the next step is to get out your trimmer. And this is where things could go wrong if they were going to go wrong. And they did go wrong for me anyway. How do I know? Ask me, how do I know? So this thing measures, this image measures 2 3/4. So half of 2 3/4 is 1 3/8. So we're going to cut this in half at 1 3/8. And you guys stop. Oh. And then each one of this measures 4 1/2 in this direction. So divide 4 1/2 by 4 and you get 1 1/8. So we're going to cut this into 4 1 1/8 inch pieces, and we're going to try to extra scoring to them. I'm going to try to keep them in order, just because it's easier to do it that way. The designer actually gave some incorrect measurements, so I had to correct the measurements on this card because my first one did not come out at all. Then we'll take the second piece and do the same thing. Cut it into 4 equal 1 1/8 inch pieces. This designs, sometimes the measurements don't come out right, so I have to switch around a little bit. And I'm going to kind of just leave those on there like that while I get out my glue. And I glue them down into their proper places here. Like I say, you can also use your tape and piece it. A little border all the way around. Mosaic here. Feel like I'm tiling a floor or a wall. And if you're good at puzzles, if you happen to get these out of place, you'll be able to put them back together. However, I suggest if you make more than one of these cards at a time, do not cut more than one of these panels at one time and have the pieces laying all over your tabletop. That would be an interesting way to try to get, I imagine if you were good at it that you could, but and like if you made 10 of these and you had 80 pieces laying all over your tabletop, oh, that would be such a,
Yeah, it would make for an interesting card.
yes, it definitely would. So there's the inside part of the card. And then you have the outside.
It looks a lot more complicated than it really is.
Yeah. And let's see if I have one that's already prepared. I thought I did, but you would, and I'm not going to color this, but I'll show you how. Whoopsie. Let's see, let's get you back to where you were. I'm going to put a tiny bit, just a tiny little speck of adhesive to hold this on here. So you would put this in the middle and it would be all colored up real nice. And then this piece would have a matching white label. What's the next one? Now I cut these with punches, just because punches are so much easier for me. But if you don't have these punches, you can cut these with the layering oval dies, which are the current product. And I'm going to stamp this with, from the same stamp set, Happiness Abounds. I'm going to stamp it with the You Are Wonderful in Every Way. And so soft, succulent. I get that I either say So Succulent because we used to have a stamp set named So Succulent, or I say Some Succulent, but I never seem to get it right and say Soft Succulent unless I really concentrate. So then we're going to attach that to our pink palette. Okay, and then it will get put on with blue dots. Not blue dots, pop-ups. And here, you could use blue dots. So you see how moving this over to the left gave more room for that flower to appear. And so the final, here's where the final, at the very final edge, I put some of these. These are called Fine Sparkle Adhesive Back Gems. And they come in several colors. And I gave you 3, a large and 2 small in the petal pink. And I put 1 on the label, 1 here, and 1 here. And you should try when you're putting on embellishment, work in 3s if you can, and work in triangular shapes rather than in a straight line. Because what will happen is if you try to make a straight line, chances are it's going to be crooked. So, so that's all there is really to card number 1. Very pretty.
Pretty.
I kind of like that there. So if I had a plethora of ink left, I would go and stamp all my other ones. I'll
I
wait,
like it. I like it.
wait till my new supplies come. All right. So guess what month it is? It's August. Almost September. Exactly what they did in the other class. They went shh.
I am not ready for this.
So fall is coming.
Yeah.
So here's our first fall card of the season. It uses the checks and dots embossing folder and the Hello Harvest stamp set. And then we're using Cajun Craze, Mossy Meadow, and Daffodil Delight inks. The stamp set does have a set of dies that match to cut out. This one especially is lovely, this kind of banner. I have cards here in various stages of finish. Start to get going on. Open up. I made a lot of these because I thought for church we can have some fall cards.
Good thinking.
Also used the Gingham Garden DSP. That's what this one is here. It's actually a $30 pack of paper, but it has 48 sheets double-sided.
Yeah, I just was noticing that.
So it's a lot of paper. And look, I only used this little bit. All right. So in your kit, you will be getting an envelope. You'll be getting a card base, which is your standard 5.5. Oh, 5.5 by 8.5. See which way do I need to go now? Oh, the other way. That's sort of good. And then I have scored it at 2 1/8. So this gets folded back on itself. Inside sentiment, I put You are missed. Says hello, and then you are missed. Get that going. And I'm going to stamp that and Cajun Praise. Also could use, if you don't have Cajun Praise, you can use terracotta tile, which was one of the in colors not so often long ago. In fact, it still may be current. I'm not. I have a hard time keeping track of any colors. And stamp right in the middle because that front piece is going to cover it over. We are going to have a layer of crushed curry underneath.
I don't see the terracotta one still in the book.
That will go on the inside. Two tiny little 16th inch borders. Now this piece was run through the checks and dots embossing folder. And it has a background mat as well, two background mats. So the crushed curry goes on top of the Cajun Praise. Order. Then the embossed piece I like to put on Rochambeau because it gets in the nooks and crannies. You all know that. Do as you like. It's centered in here. Operating here. Okay. And then on the outside, we're going to have a 5 3/8 by 2 inch layer background. Top of the Cajun Praise, our base. And then a piece of that gingham check. Now you could use either side. You could use the small check or the large check, but since this was the color that matched the background this best, I used the larger one. And the whole path is checks like that of different colors. You got one side that are all small checks and one side that are all large checks. And there's in many, many, many different colors. Here's our front panel. And then we're going to take the left side. It doesn't matter which side because we haven't put an image on it yet. And glue that down to the center of the part. So just center this right in the
Where is that embossing folder? I don't see
it
it.
is the checks and dots embossing.
Right.
I don't see it either.
It's not in the catalog.
155432. I think it's in the mini.
155432.
155432. And it fits in the mini Stampin', mini Stampin' and Boston cut machine.
Yeah, I don't find it in the mini or the big catalog.
You don't.
I don't.
I don't see it either. Okay.
Well, then I suggest you use, I think we have an Argyle, some kind of pattern back there.
There's also a gingham, so,
Yeah,
Okay.
but that one was called what, Robin? The,
all right, so
It was called Checks and Dots.
Okay.
Maybe it was a freebie at one time.
I'm having trouble hearing you.
Maybe it was a freebie at one time.
I
or
don't,
retired.
I don't think so.
Okay,
And I can't think that it's that old because it fits the mini.
yeah.
I'll look it up and see if but that's the number. If you type that in the
I will do that.
store, see if it comes up.
15 what?
155432.
432.
Okay.
All right, and so now we're going to stamp the pumpkin, the flowers, and the leaves. So I would set your Stamparatus Misty there to fit the stencil that I give you in your kit. Put the pumpkin piece in. Put the flower piece in. Oops. You only fit one way. Ink up your stamps. Get it out of there. You have your pumpkin. Flowers. And then we're going to turn the plate over. I'm going to clean off these stamps so I don't get my arm in a mess here. And then we're going to stamp one of these leaves in Cajun Praise, which I put over here. And one in Mossy Meadow. Here I clean the Cajun Praise Moss, which would not make a very nice, pretty color if you if you didn't clean it off. Mossy Meadow and brown. Oh, well, it will look like a fall leaf, right?
It was in last year's annual catalog.
Last year's mini.
Last year's annual.
I did not know they discontinued that. Sorry, folks.
No worries.
We know who to borrow it from if we need it.
Yep. We know where to find you.
Yep, I'd be happy to loan it out. No problem. Okay, so now you've got your leeks and your pumpkin and your flowers. And you're all done stamping. So you can take your agent trays, blends, markers, inks, whatever you want to use. I'm going to use the dark first around the outside edges, and you do not need to color the stem of the pumpkin because the stem is hidden behind the flowers. Use a line around the inside boundaries of each section. Over the rest of it with the light. I go in one direction, but it blends very well. So that's one thing, the drawing lines don't show the piece very much. So for the inside of the sunflowers, I'm going to use the light Cajun Craze. I'm also going to put it on these tiny little, there's a couple pom-pom kind of flowers here. Dots, touching the dots with the color. Totally optional. And then the rest I'm going to do with Daffodil Delight. And I'm going to, of course, come back with Mossy Meadow on the greenery. And you can color right into the center and blend that center in a little bit. It doesn't hurt anything. So you don't have to be perfect with your brush strokes on this. If you accidentally go into the next dimension with your marker, of course you don't want to go out too much on the edges, but if you happen to make a boo-boo, doesn't bother so much. Here's another yellow flower that should be yellow. Here, looks like a tulip, but I'm going to make it a buttercup. All right, and then final will be Mossy Meadow. I'm just going to go do all of them in light. I'm not going to try to shade these at all. They're just too tiny. All right, so on this, you're going to have a sentiment. On the first card, I used hello. And the second card, I'm going to use you are such a blessing. And just because I wanted to try something different. But all you do is you take the leaves and you glue them to the back side of this label. After you stamp your greeting first. Excuse me. Glue them with some liquid glue to the back side of the label. They'll come out in a set like this. And then you're going to do a layout before you do any gluing down. Because you want to make sure you have enough room for everything. And that's about where I would like it. So I'm going to
It's so
put
pretty.
some dimensionals on the back of my label. And then these are minis. I don't particularly care for minis, but I like them on greenery, so we'll put them on here. Anyway. You know me and my dimensionals. And make sure they're sturdy underneath there.
That's a lot of little minis.
Yeah, I put too many on. I always do. And I would have just put four regular sized ones on here. When I opened the drawer, I would have found them right away. You know how that goes. With me. All right. So we're going to put this on the card. The leaves can go off the edge. What should be centered is the sentiments. Now the pumpkin is going to get glued flat. At least I'm going to glue it flat. Put that in the center. Put some dimensionals.
I don't know where the video went again.
You must be hitting a button or something.
Well, but then it should say turn on your video, which it's not.
How's that? There you go.
You are. You're back.
Yeah, sometimes that little microphone, depending on what setting you have it on, sometimes that little microphone's hard to find. Whee, I found some bigger dimensionals. I'll put those on there. I'm Stampin' Up! Gold, some pieces of edging. All right, so then we're just going to place the flower on top. And there we go.
It is so pretty.
So that's your first card of the autumn. And you can put whatever sentiment on that label that you want to put on. You can do it in whatever color scheme you like to do it in. It doesn't need to be a fall card. You can do it with a flower and a label and that kind of thing.
You could put some of those extra leaves inside too.
Corners or whatever.
Mhm.
Yeah. Our next card, I wanted to make something that was unusual, but that possibly a guy would like. I don't know if a guy would like it or not, but I thought it was worth giving it a try. So I said, what's a sort of flora or fauna that's, what would you call that?
Masculine.
Pardon?
Masculine?
masculine or just gender neutral anyway.
Yeah, I was gonna
Okay.
use that, yeah.
So this is what I made. This is my design this time.
You got to come down a little bit, sweetie. Thank you.
So it's one of those stand-up
Mhm.
kind of deals. And then it has on the inside, but we still have some little green apples growing over here. So this is the inside. And I had some Granny
Granny
Smith
Smith.
over here. Alrighty, so I don't know how to show you this card base except to show it to you. And then try to describe it. So you'll get one already done in your kit, but this is how you lay it out.
We did something similar
Mhm.
with a butterfly card.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
If you remember that butterfly card that we did, the butterfly.
Yeah, that's what I just
Mhm.
said, yeah.
Yeah. This is the
Burned.
same cutout base. What I do along the fold is I measured in 1.5 inches and marked it. Okay, so that'll be where the start of this triangle goes.
Slide it over to the right. There we
Thank
go.
you.
This point right here is 1.5 inches
Okay,
from this edge. Then I turned it like this, and I'm going to measure over 3 inches to this point here on both sides. Okay,
okay.
and then I just drew a line from here to here and scored it. Now yours won't be marked with nice white so you can see it like that, but that's, I think I actually folded yours in your kit, so you shouldn't have too much trouble. But if you want to make another one, you can actually take a screenshot of this if you like and save the template. This is 1.5 inches and this is 3 inches from the center. Okay, I'll say that again, just so you have it in your records. This is 1.5 inches in from this edge, and this point here is 3 inches from the center, and then you just score it on those lines. Ready? Okay, so that's the pattern. And then get out. This is how it will come in your kit. Already folded. So what you need to do to get that folded is basically fold the card in half, like so, and then take where the score lines are. This is really but you just take this and fold it up a little bit on the score line and this side a little bit on the score line too, so you can get that point. And then you open it up and you're going to push the fold down in and the sides up.
Easy peasy.
Now I believe our butterfly card went this way.
Correct.
So this one's going this way. Just
And
because I wanted to be different.
Just to change things up.
Okay, and then I've given you a couple templates. So
Cute knees.
what you would do to make these outside pieces is you would cut the piece, and this one's going to look a little different. You would cut the piece to fit as if this was square, okay? Like, as if this was rectangular. And they're an 1/8 of an inch border all the way around. So this piece that you would originally cut that is totally rectangular, let's see if I can put it now, that one won't fit. Pretend that's the same piece of paper. Okay. Then you would measure over I have a thing for you here, and it measures 4 inches. So this is the piece that would go across the top. All right, so you would lay that on that piece that you have underneath it there, mark the edges, and then just cut it at that diagonal. All right, and then that piece will fit right on there. This one's going to look a little different, depending on where the paper came from. This also came from that Gingham Garden collection. So this is the black version. So you've got gingham that goes this way, and you also have gingham that goes at that angle. Okay, so there's the front. Now the inside piece is exactly the same size as the front piece. So I stamped that with the sentiment from, this is the same. Oh my goodness, I'm making a mess of it. From Apple Harvest. And I used the sentiment from Charming Sentiments. I used Because You Totally Deserve It. So the outside is going to say, wishing you everything wonderful, which is this one. And the inside's going to say, because you totally deserve it. It's from Charming Sentiments, which has a set of dies that cuts out the words, actually cuts out around the words. Okay, so yeah, front piece, I put the inside piece, and then I put 2 other pieces. So let me find my totally deserved it stamp. Yes. And because I'm going to put an apple over there in the corner, I'm going to make sure that I stamp this over to the right somewhat. And then I will mount that. And wow. Another piece, pattern piece that is cut to fit this top. So on this one, it's the same exact thing, except your template will say bottom, upper, inside, and that's what would get cut off of here, right? And you can mix colors up if you want from the different pattern pieces. Then I'm going to put this piece here, but you see it's a really tight fit. So in order to make this fit, we're going to move it out here like this and see that we need to cut about 3/8 of an inch off of this on the short side. So we are going to put it in here at, oops, at 3/8 of an inch. There. Let's go 1/4 inch. Let's take a 1/4 inch off for starters. I'll try to have these trimmed for you already. And then that will go in here like this. Yes, that will fit. Should have one more piece of pattern paper to go in here. And it should be something different. This one also needs to be trimmed that 1/4 of an inch off. I think I even remember that we had to trim a 1/4 inch off on the butterfly one as well. Didn't learn my lesson evidently. So I figured whatever pattern I put in here, as long as it was black and white, it was going to look pretty cool. So that's what I did. So you have your inside and outside papers done. Then your kit has a label, and a couple shapes. A shape that looks like that, one that looks like this, and one that looks like this. If you're not buying the stamp set, you can always borrow. This is for the sentiment, which comes from the Charming Sentiments, which is wishing you everything wonderful. And since it's photopolymer, I should be able to aim that right to the label. So, as straight as possible. And we'll take aim. I did it on the first try. Hey, there. And that gets glued straight to this label. Just fits. So. And it would get some dimensionals on the back. And it popped up after we put the apples on. Now, those two things are mounted up in something. Voila! There you go. I stamped them. Cheater, cheater. Okay, so that, and then I colored them. This I actually used one of the new in colors called Sweet Sorbet. And I did the light dark routine on it. How we're doing time wise. If I get time to color all this, I don't think I will. I'll just show you one. They all get colored in the same kind of fashion. So I use Sweet Sorbet on the the red apples. And I used Granny Apple Green on the green apples. Because what the heck?
Granny Apple should have Granny Apple Green.
So, et cetera here. Oh, and there's some black lines on this that I would just go over again with the dark color, just to and liven up those dark spots to make it look pretty. And I believe that I used soft succulent and a Granny Apple Green for the leaves on the flowers, but the apple just gets glued right to here. And if you prefer, you can stamp right to this piece. And this one gets colored in the Granny Apple Green, and I use crumb cake for the branch. And then the inside here, I took some of the it's called ivory, and then I used a color lifter to lift some of it off. I didn't think that should look stark white because apples aren't truly stark white inside, at least maybe only for a fraction of a second before they start to crack. So then I glued that in there, so, and that just lays right over inside, so it doesn't matter how far that sticks up. But when you're putting this piece on the front, you need to put it so that you're mindful of where the top of the card is going to be, so it still fits in the envelope. All right, and then you're, what did I do with that supplement that I made? What's here? Well, it gets put on with blue dots on the front, and you can see where it covers up some of them. Okay. Now this is a little bit flimsy, so if you wanted to strengthen that up a little bit, you could take two of these pieces, take a plain one that's not stamped and one that is, and glue them together, and it'll make a little bit stiffer piece on there for you. All right.
Could you put it back to back on the fold? Could you?
Let's see, they won't line up, I don't think. No, they don't line up.
Okay,
You'd have to,
I see. Yeah. Okay.
but you wouldn't have an image here. You know,
Right.
you could.
I can see that now. But that way you wouldn't see it on the back. That's what I was thinking. You
Right.
wouldn't see it on the back then. Okay.
No, if you put these two together before you mount it on the card,
Right. Then you won't see it.
yeah. So just
It'll just be blank on the blank white on the back.
it'll give you a little bit more sturdy. Give you
Correct.
sturdiness, I think.
And then the other side's blank on the back.
Yeah.
So you won't see the color. Okay, that works.
And then, you know, color it first, and the bleed through from your stamping blends won't show through either.
Right. So you'll have just a white background on the back.
Right. So you learn something new every day. So there's
Yeah.
that.
Very pretty.
So I don't know if a guy would like that, but I would think it's more guy than
Anyone would.
bows and stuff. So we'll give it a go. And then our last card is the easy peasy card. There is this paper called Hues of Happiness Designer Series paper. It's in the mini with the Hues of Happiness suite. And it comes with it also coordinates with the Happiness Abound stamp set. So these are the dies that would cut these out. However, it also cuts out several of the sheets of the Designer Series paper. So there's some sheets of paper in the, I brought it here, I should get this stuff up. But here's the flowers that I've cut out right out of the Designer Series paper. And it also cuts out the leaves.
That's really bright paper.
It is. And there's a set that is pinks, purples, and like that fresh fuchsia. And then there's this one that's blue, purple, and golds. The flowers are absolutely beautiful. You get 2 sheets of the same kind of paper in there. And then this is what you make when you're done. Just so simple. This card opens like this. Says congratulations, wishing you every happiness this special day will bring. You use it for wedding, graduation, retirement, whatever. It's very floral though. And this triangular piece is a piece of the back side of the paper. And I tried to cut that from the piece that I like the least so that I could still have the flowers to cut out on another piece. So this is what would be on the inside. This is what's going to show on the inside of the flap. And then this piece is going to be folded. I'm going to get out that paper and show it to you in a little bit. I know I pulled it out here, but this gets folded and then just put it over the edge of this inside, like so. Glue it on there like so. Now, if you were into mathematics, and you can decide whether you want more purple to show there or if you want more any of the blue to show. If you're into mathematics, the hypotenuse of this triangle, well, actually, this is the base of this triangle.
You're using geometry on me.
The base of this one measures exactly 5 1/4 inches. So to get that, you are going to cut a 3 1/4 by 3 1/4 inch square. And when you fold it in half, this measurement will be 5 1/4. Don't ask me how, but it works. So I have somewhere mounted up in here. I have one more Misty. There it is. I have a Stamparatus with the sentiments mounted on it. So I'm going to do the inside sentiment in Night of Navy. Oh, I just found that paper. I'll show you that first. I knew I had it set out over here. All right, so here's some of the yellow flowers. And then this gold section of flowers would have been down in here. And then it moves into a one of those, one of those, and one of those. And I should have one paper that's not cut at all. This is the other yellow. I don't remember which ones I cut out. I think the blue ones were in the middle of this one. And here's what the two remaining pinks are.
Wow, right.
And then this was one piece. In order for it to go through the stamping cut, your Big Shot or your stamp and cut machine, you have to cut out around anything that's salvageable that you can cut with the dies. So that's why this is like it is. But I can cut each one of these flower pieces out with the dies that come with the stamp set.
Nice.
The backs of the papers on this is like the middle section of the ones that I did not use. That's what those look like. Here's another section, which I cut the wrong size, or we could have been using those. This is this one, you can't cut any of the flowers out.
It's pretty.
And then the back side of that one looks like that. So at least made the back side so you don't feel like you don't want to cut it. This is another collection. So it was the blue and the this is Gorgeous Grape. This is Crushed Freesia, Petal Pink, and might be Magenta Madness, perhaps, or it could be that Sweet Sorbet. And the back of this is like we had it Stampin' Up! Paper that was exactly this print before.
Or something
And the
really
final
smooth.
print in the set is like that. And the back side of that is like this. So that's another one that you could have used for the same kind of card.
Mm-hmm.
Coordinating colors are Coastal Cabana, Daffodil Delight, Flirty Flamingo,
That's the one.
Fresh Freesia, Gorgeous Grape, Granny Apple Green, Mango Melody, Melon Mambo, Mossy Meadow, Night of Navy, and Pool Party. So it coordinates with a lot of colors.
Pretty paper.
I'm having the worst time here. Did I kick? Oh. Did I kick the camera in the? Oh, back to it. We're going to stamp the Inside Sentiment, which is from Peaceful Moments. Wishing you every happiness this special day will bring.
I have
Almost
that.
everybody in the group has Peaceful
I
Moments.
have that one. Yep.
I think I do.
No, I know I do.
I haven't done cards in so long.
Yeah, I need to get
We're going to stamp.
a wiggle on.
Tighter there. There we go. Flip this over. Come out of there. Watching where I'm setting that. Hold the card closed. What am I doing? Oh, because it goes up there. That's there we go. Not been good. Make sure you have your card front. illustration. And I put this a little bit off to the left because that triangle is going to come in here. So I want it centered in what looks to be the center of the triangle. Dirty and do not touch. All right. So before you put it, this is just a quarter sheet of cardstock, and it's Night of Navy. So that's going to form along with the card dock. I prefer to have this purple because I have a purple flower in the front. So we are going to glue this half of the triangle to the back of the card. If you're using liquid glue, try not to get too close to the edges because when you press, it's going to ooze out a bit. Get it on the inside. Let's put this the right way. Congratulations. It's going this way. Capturing that in. So I found on one of my cards that folding this back and forth and back and forth and back and forth made this crease crack. So I reinforced the center fold with a piece of cellophane tape. I don't know if that looks tacky or not, but that's what I did. And then you're going to just take and glue this whole back down. I guess if you wanted to conserve paper, you wouldn't have to. You could cut some of this off, but I don't know what you would do with that one little piece of paper. So, just centered with a 1/8 of an inch border all the way around. And then purple flower gets a leaf behind. Dab of glue. You could glue the whole back down because it's going to eventually get glued. And then put that flower from the leaf. So put a little bit of glue on the leaf as well. Close this so that I know that the whole flower can get on. So now because you have words on the bottom, this little guy, he may get covered up a little bit by the flag. So I rotate this around to see where I can get it where it's covered the least. And then I kind of lay out my leaves down here as well. See where they're going to go. Kind of like that would be good. Yep. There.
And on the other one, you had the leaf up in the middle one as well.
Pardon?
I said on the other card, you had the other leaf up on the middle card,
Yeah, it
middle
doesn't
flower.
matter.
Yeah, it doesn't matter anyway.
Because if I put the first one on there differently, it's going to look.
Robin, I have about 5 more minutes, just so you know.
We're almost done. This is it. Last card, last one. And then you just take this flower right here and pop it up with some pop-ups. Okay, and the flap sticks underneath it. Only do half of it. Only put half of it. Pop-ups on half of it. Here. There you are.
Very nice.
So if you had, I had the gumption to cut out all the flowers on the thing, I think there's enough to make like, this is about the 4th or 5th card of this color scheme. So I think you'd have enough for like 5 of each color scheme.
Very nice.
I like it.
So I
Can you pretty much
appreciate
use
you
everything?
stopping by. I'm going to invite you all to come back next time, and I will close the recording so we can talk about when we're going to meet up next.